Alright, I just wanted to make a really quick video to show you the Retevis, or however you're supposed to say it, RT22. So this is what was delivered to me from Amazon. This is actually half of it because I ordered a 4 radio set, which was actually just 2 of these sets plus a programming cable. So this is everything that's included. I already have the battery in this one, and I have the battery sitting out here. It's just like a cell phone battery. If you remember using old like dumb phones is what or feature phones we would call them. But you've got your belt clips here. So these are really nice. They actually just clip in, and now you have your belt clip there, and then you just push this little tab and they pop out. So that's really nice. Putting the battery in is a similar affair to one of those old cell phones. There's just a little tab up there, and you just pop the back off. You pop the battery in, and then I like to press it down from the bottom up. So yeah, that's how you put the battery in. It does also come with a user manual. It doesn't really explain everything, but with some trial and error you can figure some things out. It does also come with USB charging cables, because these charge with USB. There is a consideration here for a drop-in charger, but I mean, you've got USB, why not? I will note that these are mini USB, not micro USB. So what you probably have with your cell phone will not charge these. If you have like a really old MP3 player or something, or an older USB like portable device, and even some older cell phones did use the mini USB charging that this does. So it also is really nice. A lot of things don't come with this now. It comes with a USB charger. It has 2 ports, and the output is 1 amp. I'm not sure if that's split between the 2 ports, or yeah, it just says output 5 volts 1 amp. I don't know, it might be 500 milliamps per port, it might be 1 amp. I haven't tested it out. But yeah, that's what came with the kit. And because I bought the 4-pack, it did also include, this is not apparently normally in the box with 2, but they included the programming cable, which technically in the United States, or at least these were shipped with United States programming, I guess. So technically you don't need the programming cable to use them legally in the United States, because they are on the FRS band. The weird thing about it, though, is there's some quirks to it. The way they have it programmed, there's a couple channels that are not supposed to be at the full 2 watts that these can output. You're supposed to only transmit at 500 milliwatts, or half a watt. But those channels are programmed to transmit at the full 2 watts. And then also, they all have a privacy code programmed into them, and each channel has a different privacy code. And I'll go into this in another video, but privacy codes are basically to block out what other people are saying that you're not trying to communicate with. So it doesn't actually keep your conversation private, it just makes it less annoying to use these radios, because you're not hearing everybody's conversation, you're only hearing the ones that your friends have programmed in the code. Now, programming in the code you can't do, because there's no screen, there's no keypad or anything on here. You have to do all the programming through a computer. And it does, supposedly older versions of this worked with Chirp. The current version, as of November 2nd, 2019, the current nightly build of Chirp does not work with the current version of the RT22. But it's an open source project. It's a constantly changing product. There might be some overlap in the future, but they do have software that is free that you can download from their website that you can use, and it is fine. It's fine. So before I get into programming it, I wanted to show the how to use the actual radios. So I'm going to go ahead and turn these on. So when you turn it on, You just twist this knob up here.
Power on. 2.
So it says power on, and then it says the channel that you're in. And if you go up, you press, these are the up and down channel buttons here. And I can actually, I can focus in here so that we can get a better shot there. So yeah, so you've got your channel up, channel down. Here's your push to talk. So if you press up,
3, 4, 5.
you can see that it goes up the channels 3, 4, 5 in English, and then
4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, so now we're back down to 1. This other side is actually this is your little headset and microphone port, which is I believe it's a Kenwood style, but don't quote me on that. And then this is your USB port under here. So the only buttons, there's a knob and 3 buttons. That's it. So there are some extra functions here. There is a lock function so that you don't accidentally change the channel. And that's accomplished by pressing and holding both of these buttons for a few seconds. So now you can see it's locked, and if I try to change the channel,
1, 1, 1, 1.
it doesn't let me change it. And push to talk, though, still works. So
1, 1.
you won't accidentally change the channel. Let me take it out of lock mode. Okay, so press both buttons for a few seconds and it went out of lock. And now let's say you want to scan, because this has 16 memory locations. So it comes with 16 FRS channels pre-programmed in, and you might not know which one your friend is going to talk to you on. Normally you coordinate that ahead of time, but it does have a scan feature if you want it. So you just press and hold this bottom button for a few seconds.
On.
And it says on, meaning that scan is now on. So if I set this one here, actually I'll let you see that there's a flashing green light there. And let me refocus. So if I take this other radio,
Power on. 5, 4,
okay, so now I was on, was it
5, 6, 7.
7? Yeah, so I put this on channel 7. This one's just scanning through. You can see the green flashing light means it's scanning through. So now I'm just going to say a message real quick. Hey, this is me testing out the scan. Okay, and you can see that the light turned solid green for a second. It waits. And then it returns to scanning after it doesn't detect a signal for a little bit. So let me turn this one off. And then to take it out of scan mode, you just press and hold this button again, the bottom button.
Off.
And it says off. And
2, 1.
it actually remembers what channel you were in before you started scanning, which is kind of nice. And actually, more expensive radios I've had don't do that. So let me go ahead and turn this off. So that is what you get in the package, and now I'm going to go over how to program it. Okay, so to begin programming, the first thing you want to do is to take the programming cable out of the little package that they give you. So obviously it's USB, so you're just going to plug this USB end into your USB port on your computer. And then this other end, which I'll zoom in on here, or focus in on. Please work. Okay, so this other end plugs into the radio, and it looks a little weird, but that's because it uses the microphone and speaker port to communicate back and forth between the radio and the computer. So I'm just going to plug this in here without plugging this into a computer for now, just to show you how to do it. So we're going to pull off this top cover here, and we're going to take the plug and match it up with those 2 plugs and snap it in. And that's easy. And make sure you do this when it's off. And then when you're ready to program it, set it to a channel that you know is not going to have a whole lot of traffic on it, because it apparently that, at least that's the instructions Chirp always gives me. So set it to a channel that isn't going to receive anything, you hope anyway, and then turn it on. And I like to turn the volume all the way up, but you can try it out in different ways. The computer will just complain at you. The software will complain that it can't communicate, and it might tell you what to do. So that's just kind of some best practices. Let me turn this off, and let's go to the computer. All right, so in order to program the RT22 by Retevis, you need to do a couple of things. So the first thing that I like to do actually is to just go ahead and plug in the cable. Sorry, I'm making some noise here. Go ahead and plug in the cable to your computer and let Windows do some work to set it up. But while we're waiting for that to be ready to go, when you want to download the software, you go to retevis.com. Your radio may have included a disk with it, but I recommend just going to the website and getting the latest version of it. So ignore all the ads for the more expensive radios, and just go straight up here to support and then resources. And then scroll down and find RT22 from this USB driver list. We're just going to go ahead and download that. And then we open that, and I believe we can just run this straight from the zip file. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and hit next here and be greeted. Oh, hey, the device is ready. Look at that. It says it's on COM3, but we'll check that out later. So hilariously, they haven't even filled out a license agreement. So I don't know what the deal it is with that. I mean, I agree to not agree to anything. That's fine. And then you can just put whatever. And pick where you want to install. Sure, I'll install. Wait, for current user, yes. All right, now it's done installing. So now we're going to go to, hey look, there's RT22. All right, so this is the Retevis programming application for your RT22. And the first thing we need to do is set up the COM port that the radio is connected to the computer on. So we can figure that out by going to Device Manager. So I just hit Windows and just started typing in Device Manager. I don't ever remember where anything is in the Windows settings. I just always search for the name. And then you're going to go down here to Ports, and you can see prolific USB to serial COM port. This is the one you want, and COM3 is in fact the correct COM port to use. So we're going to close that. And now back in our RT22 software, we're going to go to Set and then to Communication Port. And oh wow, that's helpful. It's the only one. If you have Bluetooth in your laptop or whatever, this is a desktop, so it doesn't actually have Bluetooth. But if you have a laptop with Bluetooth, those might show up as other COM ports, and so there will be more than one highlighted here and selectable. So you'll need to go into the Device Manager to make sure that you're looking at the prolific one. So then we're just going to close that. And then before you do any programming, you actually want to download the programming from originally from the radio. It's just easier to start with the settings that it already has. And then I'm going to go program read data from interphone. Read. And it's just going to go in, it's going to read everything. So now this is actually what I've already written to this radio, but let me go ahead and open up what was originally written to this radio, and we can talk a little bit about the changes that I made. All right, so this is the stock configuration for the Retevis RT22. The channels are correct. They're the correct frequencies. They're not necessarily the correct numbers. Now, FRS has 22 channels. This radio only has memory locations for 16 of them. So you won't be able to fit all of the FRS channels in this radio. If we go to the FCC page on FRS, we can actually click on the data tab, and it will tell us all the frequencies for all these different channels, including the power radiation from the radio that is allowed. So for instance, where you're allowed, without a license or anything, to broadcast on channel 1, or transmit rather on channel 1, using 2 watts of power. But on channels 8 through 14, you're only allowed to use a half a watt. And that's something that this radio doesn't really account for, because it has everything set to high power, which is 2 watts. So if we go back to the software here, and let me just drag it over so we can see both at the same time, you can see that channels 1 through, let's see, 637, 6625, 6, there we go. So 1 through 5 are the same. And then when you get to 6, it goes down to 462.625, which is actually channel 18. And then it goes to 725, which is channel 22. And then it goes to 6875, which is channel 13. And that's actually set to high power. Right here, high power. Which means it would be transmitting at 2 watts, and you'd actually be transmitting on that channel illegally. So what can we do here then? Well, unfortunately, we just have to go through and reprogram all of these. Another thing actually that is in this default setup is all of these CTCSS/DCS codes. So this is the D code, this is the N code. And it's interesting that you can actually have these set differently, because FRS doesn't really, there's no real reason to have it set for that. However, that means that you can actually use this radio if you're a licensed amateur radio operator. You can use this radio as a UHF only ham radio. So you can program in repeaters that require a certain frequency tone in order to let you into the repeater, and then a certain frequency tone for you to hear the output from the repeater. So that's a very interesting feature of this radio, but it is a certified Part 95B FRS radio, so it depends on what you need it for. It's a nice cheap radio that you can fit in your pocket. So if you're a ham operator and you want to have a nice cheap radio that you don't worry about if it gets stolen or broken or whatever, this might be a good option. Anyway, to program this for FRS, you can use these codes if you want. It's just you'll only be able to communicate with other stock Retevis RT22s. If you want to mix in with other FRS radios, you'll want to remove these frequencies, or at least set them to the same frequency, and then your friends on those other radios will have to set their radio to encode and decode in with this subaudible tone here. So it's a bit more complicated. You can do some research on it. It's kind of an interesting feature, but I found it easier just to clear out all those settings. So let me open up my new one here. So this is is what I came up with. So as you can see, channels 1 through 7 are 1 through 7, because I typically spend my time on 1 through 7 if it's just, going around a theme park or something. I don't typically use the higher channels. And then I wanted the option of having one of the lower powered channels just in case we were really close and we want, because if you could save some battery and if you can communicate on low power, you might as well try. So I just left that one as low power, and then because there wasn't enough space for all 22 channels, I didn't put any of the other low power channels in there. I just skipped right to 462.55, which is channel 15. And then I did 15 through 22 in spots 9 through 16. Now, that might get a little confusing. if you're working with other people that have other brands of FRS radios that they have the stock channel numbers. But you could just tape something onto the back just so you know that, yeah, channel 9 is actually channel 15. And you could, because it's always plus 6, right? Because we skipped 6 of these. So you just add the normal channel number plus 6, or you add your channel number plus 6, and then you get the normal one. So that's how I have it set up. So now, if we want to program the radio, it's really easy. We already have everything set up. The radio's already on. It's already plugged in. We just go to program and then write data into interphone and then click write. And it's done. And that's it. So programming this radio is actually really easy. If just make sure you find a listing that includes the cable. All right, well, that's it. And hope you, if you end up picking up these radios, you can usually find them for about $15 each or something like that. And they're really great radios. I've gotten really good reception with them just walking around with my wife and at theme parks and things like that. So there are some other videos on YouTube I would recommend watching. I'll link to them in the description. That go over the actual range, like real world range, and using equipment to detect the signal over longer and longer distances. So definitely check those out if you want a more scientific, I guess, approach to the review of it. But these are 2-watt radios. They are reasonably sturdy. I mean, they don't feel like a plastic like VTech, child's toy. They're certainly not your high-end radios, but you didn't pay a high-end price. But they're certainly higher quality than I expected for the price. So thank you for watching.